Annyeonghaseyo everyone. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make a sour bamboo soup. And in Hmong, we like to call this Ntsuag Xyoob Qaub, which basically just translates to as boiled bamboo shoots with pork. What's unique about this soup is that it has a really great sour taste to it and complements whatever protein you guys are going to be using into the soup. So today we'll be using kang, which is basically like a pre-barbecue meat that my parents would make and freeze and use it for soups. We're going to be using kang, which is basically the pre-barbecue pork that we have. This dish is super awesome because it can be used and made with different kinds of proteins. So you guys can make this with a whole chicken, you guys can make this with beef, you guys can make this with any kind of protein you guys prefer. And we're going to be using two kinds of sour bamboo today. So I'll show you guys the sour bamboo that we like to use. It's going to be really simple but also very tasty. And do let me know what you guys like to add into the soup if you've ever had it before and if you like this soup. So yeah, let's go ahead and start cooking the sour bamboo soup. So let's go. Okay, so some of the things you will need for this soup includes your choice of protein. And in today's soup, we are going to use kang is basically just pre-barbecued pork. We have some pork loin and the ribs here that has been pre-barbecued. It's not like overly barbecued. You can just see a little bit of the grill marks here, and it has that really nice barbecue char to it. So we're going to use this today because that char and the barbecue flavor goes really well with the sour bamboo. So if you guys get a hold of this, or if your parents ever made kang or also kang, it'll also be really good in this dish. But today we're just going to be using pre-barbecue pork here. You can also use pre-barbecue beef, which my mom has showed you how to do that in my previous video. You guys can definitely use pork belly. You guys can definitely use like pork ribs. You can use a whole chicken. Really up to you what kind of protein you guys like. But today we're going to be using this because it has a really nice flavor to go with the sour bamboo. Okay, so let's talk about sour bamboo. So there's a lot of varieties at the market. There's tons and tons of different brands and different kinds and different texture. But today we're going to be using this brand today, and this one is a lot softer in texture. There's not much crunch to it, but it has really good flavor. And I just really like the velvety texture that this one has. But you guys can definitely find one that really fits your taste. And the other one I'm also going to be using is this one here. This one is the pickled sour bamboo shoots here. It's really white, but this one is a little bit crunchy. But this brand also works really well. But there's also a variety of different brands in the market. You just have to find one that really fits your palate. We're going to be using half of this container here and this whole jar here. So roughly about, I think, like 20-30 ounces of bamboo shoots. And then your aromatics, basically all we're going to do is the basic ones. We have some lemongrass here, fresh cilantros, and you can also do chili peppers here as well. Really up to you how spicy you want this. And in the seasonings, all I have is some salt and chicken flavoring here. You guys can just add salt if you want to, but we're gonna bump it up and add a little bit chicken bouillon seasoning. And that's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and open the sour bamboos up and rinse them, and then cut up the meat, and then we can start boiling the soup. Super simple. So before we start, I'm going to go ahead and drain the bamboo shoots. I'm gonna go ahead and drain this into a strainer. You can tell this is a lot more yellow and it's a lot more tender. You can tell by the texture. So I really like this because it's a lot tender and it's a lot easier to digest. Big pieces like this, go ahead and cut it into smaller pieces, or you can just rip it off like this, super easy. It's really up to you guys. Alright, so the white one here, I'm only going to use half of this container. So I'm going to go drain some of that liquid. Alright, that's good enough. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and rinse this really quick with cold water. The reason why I'm rinsing this is to reduce the amount of sourness in here, as well as to get rid of any of that canned flavoring. But this also helps with reducing the amount of sourness in here, or reducing the amount of tang that you want in your soup. So I prefer to rinse this. It's really up to you guys though. So if you guys don't want this to be too sour, go ahead and rinse it. If you guys want it to be super sour, you don't really have to rinse it. It's up to you. But I recommend rinsing it. Drain that really good, and then we can go ahead and cut the meat, and then we can start boiling the soup. Okay, so we can go ahead and start cooking the soup. So in the pot here, I have about 2 quarts of water boiling. That's roughly around like 8 cups of water here. And then to that, we are going to add in the meat. This is the cut up pre-barbecued pork here. I cut these into small chunks. You guys can use, this is roughly around like 1.5 pounds of cooked pork. You guys can definitely use like a chicken if you guys want to. Just adjust the amount of liquid. So we're gonna go ahead and add that in there. And into this, I'm gonna go ahead and season it as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in some salt right now, just to season. We'll add salt later if we need to. I'm not gonna put too much for now. And I'm going to go ahead and add in the chicken bouillon seasoning as well. Alright, we can go ahead and close this up. And then we're gonna let this simmer for about 15 minutes or so, depending on what kind of protein you guys use. You guys might have to cook it longer if you're using chicken, but I'm gonna cook this about 15 minutes or so and then come back and check on the tenderness of it, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so it's been about 25 minutes. I cooked it a little longer. So you can see, using lakang, it got a little murky, which is completely fine. So now we can go ahead and add in the sour bamboo. Go ahead and add that to the soup. Alright, so to that, I'm going to go ahead and add in the lemongrass. Lemongrass here that we freeze in our freezer whenever we want to make soup. Go ahead and stick that in there. And then I also am going to add in some chili peppers. I have some chili peppers here that I have slivered. Again, you guys can add as much as you want depending how spicy you want this soup. Stir this up, and I'm going to let that boil for a good 5 minutes or so. And then we can taste, and I think we'll be ready to serve after that. Okay, good 5 minutes now boiling this soup. Woo! I wish you guys can smell this right now. I think some of you can already smell it. My mouth is watering just from smelling this. Look at that. Yum. Okay, so at this point the soup is pretty much done. I'm gonna turn off the heat. Make sure you taste and adjust the seasonings. If you find that's a little bit too acidity for you, go ahead and add a little bit more water in there. But since I rinsed it, it's just perfectly sour for us. So the last thing we're gonna add is just a little sprigs of cilantro. I've seen a lot of people use like ginger. You guys can use green onions. People also put basil in here. Really, what kind of herbs you guys prefer, definitely add to your favorite liking. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and take this lemongrass out because it's done its work. Nice and flavorful. And we can go ahead and serve this. I'm just adding cilantro because it's in our refrigerator.